Freelance is the perfect blend of action and comedy. The action makes you feel like you're right there with John and Alison, and the comedy it's so great because those two, the chemistry between all three of them actually is phenomenal. John said he's always wanted to go back and explore his acting roots with the character from his first role in the movie The Marine, to challenge himself to see how he'd approach the role now. And Cena said that Freelance was the perfect opportunity for that. John did a great job in this film. You really feel Mason's like broken spirit at the beginning of the film. Can you talk to me a little bit about Mason Pettit and why John Cena was the right role for him?
Well, John, I think has that amazing capacity to be, well, obviously a very physical guy. We know that. Is that amazingly, muscular and has a crazy body. He has, and we've seen that in Peacemaker, we've seen that in other movies. He is an amazing comedian and is hilarious in life. He has a sense of humor, which is fantastic. But he also has that capacity, which I didn't know much about being some kind of fragility to him. Is like, he can be a broken guy and can be very sensible. And so he was the perfect choice. He was the perfect guy right away.
Absolutely. Now, Alison Brie also plays journalist Claire Wellington. Alison can do anything. You've described her as a Swiss Army knife, but this is really her first time in the action genre. What surprised you the most about Alison's dedication to the role, and what impressed you the most about her performance in the action genre?
He is so fit. It's insane. I mean, I saw her working out. We're all staying like in houses and we're using gyms, and I saw her working out, like doing like series of push-ups with like weights on her back. I wouldn't be even capable of doing one. She was prepared. She's fit. She's physical. She can do anything, and she's afraid of nothing. I mean, and before we started shooting, I was like, "Okay, how do you want to do that? How comfortable you feel like doing the action? Like, I want to do everything." So she was. Oh, she's a trooper, and she never said no. She would say, "Yep, let's go. Let's do one more. Gonna go in the water again? Yeah, let's go." Oh. She's fantastic. She's fantastic, really.
Absolutely,
so much fun. And so much fun. She's a goofball. Like off camera, she never stops like doing stupid things. She's really. I always remember there was one, and she's easy to work with, and she's not precious. And there was one moment which I always remember is. We're on that one of the scene where they're supposed to be in jungle for already a few hours, so she's supposed to be dirty, and she shows up from the trailer and the costume is not patined enough, and we call the costume people and like, oh, no, don't worry about it, and she just threw herself on the ground and starting like brushing herself in the dirt, and she got up like, okay, good, let's go. She's that kind of person. She's fantastic.
That is incredible. Now, you've worked with Juan Pablo Raba before in Peppermint, where he plays a straight-up villain, and many remember him from Narcos. But Juan Pablo does such a great job of making Venegas hilarious and eccentric. What did he bring to Venegas that wasn't on the page?
That eccentricity. I mean, he made a character. He worked on building that character who was like that over-the-top, larger-than-life, eccentric dictator who you expect as a very dangerous guy, and maybe he is, but he is so, he's a lunatic. It's like he has no limits, has no filter, basically. So it makes him very, very funny and actually very, compelling. You like that guy at the end.
Absolutely. Now, look, you're one of the best action directors in the game right now, and Freelance, like I said, feels like you're in the middle of the action with John, Juan Pablo, and Alison. And can you discuss a little bit about your approach to the action? Because there's no CGI in this. This is all practical, correct?
Yeah. I always try to push actors to do everything themselves to the limits of safety, obviously. And I always like to do physical effects live because they look better than fake explosions and fake this and fake that. So there's no CGI. We did almost everything live, and I think it shows. It's a different it's an old school way of filmmaking, but I think the audience is not fooled by a full CGI thing. It's a different ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this movie is kind of like the same type of movie that I fell in love with the action genre growing up with, because everything is done in camera and you feel it like it's done in camera. Speaking of practical things, you guys actually shot on location in Colombia, which couldn't have been easy. Can you talk to me about the challenges of shooting in the jungles of Colombia, and what did the country add to the film that you couldn't do on a stage or anything like that?
Well, it's not supposed to take place in Colombia, but it's supposed to be like in a fantasy land, country that we don't know. But shooting Colombia was my first, and we shot mostly in Bogota for all the urban stuff and in the jungle, as you said. There's great crews, there's great facilities, there's a lot of things. Obviously, when you shoot in the jungle, accessing is not that simple. You don't go deep in the jungle. You still have like roads and things, but bringing equipment, like even if it's like 20 meters off the road, is already a challenge because there's trees, because there's foliage, because there's not really friendly nature. So that's a challenge by itself. You cannot say, okay, I want to track from here to there because, well, between there and there, there's trees. So you cannot do that. So you have to find other ways. But also, there's the heat, there's rain, then there's sun, and there's rain again, there's mosquitoes, and then there's everything you can deal with in the jungle, which is challenging, but also everybody's in the same thing. Everybody's experiencing, or the entire crew and cast experiencing the same elements. So you kind of bond around that. So it was fun. It was fun. Once you're done hitching yourself every night because you've been devoured by mosquitoes, you go past that, and it's just a great experience.
The snakes would have terrified me out there in the jungles. I'm sure you guys had to deal with a ton of that.
I didn't see too many. Snakes they're very shy creatures. When there are too many people, they just go away. So you don't see them ever.
I want to talk about the chemistry between the three because it is amazing. John, Alison, and Juan Pablo have tremendous chemistry together, which really helps balance the action out with their comedy. Can you talk about building the chemistry with the three of them?
It cannot build by itself. I mean, they knew their characters really well, and they actually bonded off camera. So the chemistry, they all have that crazy sense of humor. They all were riffing, and the banter off camera between takes was already there. So it kind of translated on camera, but they knew exactly. It's all about the timing, and they knew exactly their game. And John has the perfect sense of timing. Alison has that sense of timing, and we had that crazy Juan Pablo, just like was in the middle of that, like extravagant. So it built up naturally. I mean, I think because the characters were extremely well written and they're all three on top of the game, it built up naturally.
I want to ask you about some of your inspirations visually for this film because I caught some Romancing the Stone vibes from this. What were some of the films you used, action comedy films you used as inspiration for Freelance?
I think you named the one that always comes to my mind actually is Romancing the Stone, because it's the same South American thing, because it's also in the nature environment, like in jungle. And because it's two people who are not supposed to get along and end up having to bond, I think it was definitely visually the inspiration for that. Obviously, it's a film from the 80s, so things have changed. The way you shoot things have changed, but it was definitely in that vein.
Incredible. Well, Pierre, this film's incredible. By the way, that ambush bridge scene was incredible. My goodness, that scene was incredible. I felt like I was right there with those guys, but the film is incredible. I love Freelance. I love films like this. Congratulations, Pierre, on an amazing film. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for me.